Hey, hello, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the best SwiftUI channel on youtube.com. Hope you guys are doing well, and hopefully everyone has had a pretty decent start to their year of 2021. Lately, I've been writing a lot of SwiftUI code. So today I was thinking maybe I'll teach you guys how to do something very simple and very easy using SwiftUI. And so the question is, what exactly are we going to learn to build in today's lesson, right? Well, on the left side of the screen right here, you can see this application, right? I want to show you guys how to build out a custom tab bar that's at the very bottom of our application here. And if you guys have been working with SwiftUI for quite some time, you'll notice that you can't really build out a custom tab bar using the native SwiftUI toolset. So today's video, I'll show you guys exactly how to do this. And the nice thing about having a custom kind of a toolbar at the very bottom, this tab bar, is that you can pretty much do whatever you want. So, I've been working on an Instagram style course for you guys. And the thing that I really needed is a center button that allows me to present a full screen modal that looks like this, right? And, click on a photo and that modal will be dismissed. So I'll show you guys exactly how to do this in today's lesson. Inside of these views, you can pretty much add anything that you want. This is just a standard navigation view. And if you click on the right couple of tabs, you'll get, pretty self-explanatory action. All right, so this is what we will hopefully build out for today's lesson. And, without further ado, let's get started with our Xcode tutorial right now. All right, guys, before we begin today's coding lesson, I just wanted to let you know that we have a brand new SwiftUI course available, link in the description below. Inside of this course, I'm going to show you how to master the art of SwiftUI to build out this application that you're seeing on the left and right side simulator. And so let me just show you a couple of screens inside of our application here. Left side is light mode and right side is dark mode. So here you can see light looks like that. And here we have the dark mode looking like so. We have a map below as well. And inside of these restaurants, we have a bunch of different screens. Here's a grid. We can launch a full screen modal and swipe through like so. And if you guys are interested in learning how to build out such an application like this, please go ahead and check it out using the link in the description below. All right, so without further ado, let's jump back into our coding lesson right now. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the coding session for today's video here. Hopefully you guys can see what's on my screen. Basically, I have a brand new Xcode project created, which is right over here. Currently, I'm using Xcode 12.3, which is relatively new and should be pretty similar to what you're using right now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of the left panel, and I'm basically just going to work on content view here. My preview is already up and running on the right side. And basically, I'm going to transform this view into this in the right side simulator. So again, the thing I want to focus on mostly here is the custom nav bar that I have all the way at the very bottom there. So the first thing I'm going to do is to kind of show you guys what a regular native toolbar looks like, or a tab bar inside of SwiftUI. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with a tab view. And instead of a tab view, you can declare things like first right here. And down over here, you can say tab item. And inside of this item label thing, you can just create something. So just create a text inside of your tab item. And on the right side, you can see first showing up at the very bottom here. Some of you guys might be asking why the toolbar or tab bar is appearing in this yellow color, but there's a bug in Xcode 12.3 where I don't know why, but the nav bar and the tab bar is just coming out as yellow. So to fix that, you can just use tab bar appearance and use bar tint color equals dot, maybe system background or white, whatever you want, should be okay. So I'll set it to system background and it'll kind of fix that yellow color. All right, so this is pretty much what I have so far. I'm going to use the image of system name. And as you can see, the tab bar is filling up with this stuff over here. And you can continue this a few more times. So I'll just copy and paste, and you'll see this guy showing up in the second slot on the right side. Let me just change this right here and maybe use a gear icon. All right, so here's my second tab and here is my first tab. And again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but when you're using the native tab view, like what we're doing right now, you can't build out this custom behavior that you want. And again, the most important thing is to kind of control what happens when you click on this plus button. So the question now is, how exactly do we replicate this behavior down here, right? Well, I'm going to wipe out this code here. So I'm just going to cut that. And if you guys want to see this, you guys can download this source code later. But inside of the body right now, I'm going to create a ZStack. So the idea is I'm going to replicate the tab view behavior using this ZStack component here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a state variable. And this is going to help me control what's currently on the screen. So this state variable is going to be selected index, and I'll kind of default it to 0, and you'll see why in just a moment. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to use a switch, and let's see, switch on the selected index like so. And if the selected index is 0, I'm going to do this right here. So there's my first tab. And then for the remaining options, I'm just going to use default. So let me just do this right here, or remaining tabs. And this looks pretty good. I'm going to hit resume now on the right side. And you'll see nothing has really changed. I have first here. But the nice thing is that I can go ahead and modify selected index to be 1 now. You guys can probably guess what's going to happen. And now my ZStack is going to show the default down here. Okay, so that's pretty good. And now that we have, this mechanism to control what's on the screen here, next thing I'm going to move down to is the bottom tab bar here. So how do we create a custom horizontal looking tab bar? Well, you can just use a HStack. So HStack here and text and, first tab button. And here we go. So you can kind of see it's overlapping over the content in your ZStack here. And that's not exactly what you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align everything in a VStack. So I'm going to create a VStack up here. I'm going to take this right here and put that over here. And then I'll take my ZStack and put it above my HStack like so. And then in between all of these items, I'm going to use a spacer. So as you can see, all of the empty space in the middle here is now being taken over by the spacer there. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go ahead and modify selected index to be 0, and everything should be kind of okay looking. So here's my first, if you guys want to modify this to be a navigation view and create something that looks a little bit nicer, you guys can do this here. So I'm going to say navigation title and first tab, and here we go. So this looks a little bit better. And the next thing we are going to do now is we're going to start, implementing the custom tab bar down at the very bottom. And the way I'm going to do this is to just simply use a for each loop. So how do I want to do this? I'm going to say for each right here, and I'm going to use a range of, let's just use 0 to 5, and let's say num is right here. Hopefully I can type this stuff out correctly. I'm going to put this over here. All right, so here is what I get, and I think I want to move that up here, and this looks okay. So Control I to get the spacing correct. And now you'll see that I have roughly 5 buttons at the very bottom. Instead of using this text right there, right, I'm going to go ahead and use the image of system name and I think person.fill. That's what I'll use for now. I'll wipe out the first tab button, and you now see that I have 5 of these people icons below. Last thing I'll do is I'm going to use a spacer here and a spacer there. That's just going to kind of space things out equally between all of the items like that. All right, so far, I think we've gotten pretty far. Next thing I will do is, maybe I'll give this a font system size, and what do I want to use here? Weight and bold. Okay, the code looks fine. Things are showing up on the right side. Okay, so as you can see, all of these icons right here in the finished version of the app, right? It looks a little bit different because the icons are actually coming from different string names for this guy here. So off screen, I'm going to copy in this string. So tab bar image names, person gear, plus app fill, and so on and so forth. All these icons, they actually come from SF symbols. And I'll open up real quick right here. So here is SF symbols. You can search for all these icons. So plus app fill, you can click on that, and plus app, does that come up? So somewhere down here, you should get plus app fill. So maybe one of these guys down here, or this guy, or further down below, you'll eventually find something that looks like what you need. All right, so you can download this on the Apple website, just Google it, and you should find it. Okay, so going back here, tab bar image names, instead of using the hard-coded value of person.fill, right? Just say tab bar image names and use the index of num like that. Okay, I think things are looking pretty good with what we have now. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is whenever we tap on these HStack buttons down here, right? We want to change what's inside of our ZStack right here. And for example, if we're, index 0, we see the first one, and then, maybe index of 1, we see this remaining tabs instead. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to head down to my for each loop here, right? And I'm going to use a button with an action. Next thing, I'm going to grab this and replace the button down here. You see all of my buttons are appearing blue. You don't exactly want to do that. So either use the foreground color of black. I think we can do that. Or use the foreground color of label. So this might be better. So just use label like that. It should be okay. All right. Once you have that, you can now click on your icons, right? And obviously nothing's happening with your tab bar or the actual tab view right here just yet. The thing that you have to do, and some of you guys might be able to guess, is whenever you tap on these buttons, just go ahead and change the selected index like that, and change it to the value of num. So this guy will be 0, this guy will be 1, this guy will be 2, 3, and 4. You guys can see this a little bit better if you use case 1 and just say, maybe scroll view right here and text like that. So text is test, and I'm going to click on 1. You'll see test right here. Click on that, and now you see remaining tabs. So test and back to the first tab like that. Okay, so pretty much we are there with the actual behavior of our custom tab view. A couple of things that we are missing, however, is you see how we have the highlighted state for all of these buttons right here. We also have a red button with a plus in the middle. So how do we do all of that, right? Well, the thing I'm going to first add is the highlighted state for these buttons below. The way I'm going to do that is to modify the foreground color, and I'll just type out the code. This is pretty self-explanatory. If the selected index is the number that we are using from 0 to 5 up here, then we'll use the color of black or the label. And this might be easier to understand. I'll use the color of black right here. and I'll simply use the gray otherwise. And you can see things are appearing darker if we are selected in the index. Instead of using gray, maybe I'll use the color of white like that. And let's just use the value of 0.8. It's a lot more faded out, giving you a better appearance like that. All right, so far so good. Last thing that you might want to add here is, you see how we have this red button right here, right? Every time you click into it, it's going to present a modal fully to the top of the screen. And how do we want to do that? Well, first thing you might want to figure out here is you want to change the plus button here to be kind of a special button. And it's going to be a red button that's much larger compared to the rest of these icons right here. And the way I'm going to actually do that is I'm going to go inside of my for each loop, right? And if I just check if the number is equal to the third slot, which is 0, 1, and 2 right here. So this is the third slot indicated by the index of 2. I'm going to do this here. So I'll just copy that, paste that here, and else that, and just do this right here. You know, there's probably a much better way of doing this, but for today's video, copying and pasting is the easiest thing to do. So I'll just do that. All right, so for this right here, instead of using the foreground color of all this, logic, I'm going to use the foreground color of red. You'll see it appear red like that. So that's pretty good. If you want to increase the size, you can change it to 44 or, whatever size you want for your application. Next thing I will do is, whenever you click on the plus button, you want to present a full screen modal. And how do we do that in SwiftUI 2.0? Well, inside of SwiftUI, right, you can actually use a kind of a full screen cover. This might be a little confusing, but I will show you how to do that somewhere here. So I'm going to go to my ZStack right here and just use a spacer, and I'll use a full screen cover like that. So what exactly is a full screen cover? Well, you see the placeholder showing right here because of this content. So full screen cover like that. So here's my full screen cover. It's being presented because the actual bindable right here is a true value, and we have our full screen cover. So if I hit space right here, you'll see it kind of show up because this true value. So in order for us to click on this guy and then show a modal, all we have to do is to create a state variable for the is presented bindable here. This is very easy. Just go somewhere up above and say private var, and maybe should show modal equals to false like that. You can paste that in here. It's not going to work because you actually need the bindable version of that variable, which is the $sign. Okay. If you guys don't understand what bindables are, just use the $sign. You should be okay. All right, next up, we are going to hit the resume. Once it resumes, you can see if I click on that, we see remaining tabs like so. And some of you guys can guess how to get this effect here. The easiest way of doing that is to simply go inside of the action for your buttons, right? If I am if the number is equal to the third slot, which again is 2, I am going to say should show modal and either set it to true or just toggle and return like that. Okay, I think most of the code should work. Hit the plus and you see the full screen cover like that. All right, for the most part, this is the behavior that I need for my app. If you want to dismiss this modal, you can simply do this right here. So full screen cover, just say button and action, and then do that. I'll replace that over here. And, just do this and say should show modal.toggle. That's going to reverse the Boolean back to a false like that. Click on that. We can dismiss that. Click on that. And yeah, for the most part, things are looking quite Nice. Okay, I think that's mostly what I want to do. There are a couple of things that you have to watch out for in terms of this kind of tab behavior that we built out. So first thing I will kind of add to show a couple of bugs is I'm going to go to this navigation view here, which is our first tab. I'm going to replace all this with a scroll view just to show a quick bug. This way you guys can use this code and, not break in your applications. I'm going to go ahead and say for each and 0, and let's use the value of 100. Num in right here, text, and let's say like that, and num. So hopefully my computer is still working. You guys can see that if I drag this up and down, this guy is appearing yellow. Again, you might want to do this. So I'm going to copy that and replace this with UI navigation bar, and that should get this top thing to be white. Okay, so that looks good and pretty much what I expect. All right, again, things are looking nice. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because you see at the very bottom, right, I actually want to add something. I want to add this divider line, which creates a separation between the content and the tab bar. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go right above the H stack of buttons and just add a divider. The moment that I do that, you'll see the line appear like so. And here is the first bug that I want to talk about. So you see there's a small gap right here beneath the 36, and you see the line kind of under it, right? And the reason why that gap appears is because of the VStack. So the VStack by default is going to have some space between each of the elements. The way I'm going to fix that is to specify the spacing of 0. And the moment that you do that, you should have something that shows up correctly. So I'm going to stop and play again, and hopefully that will fix the problem that I have right now. So that looks okay. I think I'm going to remove this spacer. And the moment that I do that, you'll see that the spacing between the divider goes away kind of like that. If you want to add some, let's see, padding, bottom of, 12, that should give some spacing for the actual tab bar buttons right here. All right, the next thing that you'll find out is if you click on, let's bring this down to maybe 8, that looks a little better. If you click on this tab right here or right here, it gets a little bit funky because just by default, if you have this kind of remaining tabs being represented by just this text component here, this doesn't actually take up any vertical space inside of this this overall ZStack here. So the problem is you really want to put some things inside of your content view down here. The easiest way is to just use a scroll view or use a navigation view like so. Either way, it's going to work. I believe this is going to look like that. So all your content appears right in the middle because navigation views by default will take up the entire span of the actual screen space. Okay, I think now our application is finished. If you guys want to, maybe look at how this view is built on the right side, I'll include the source code for this project down below in the description. This component is actually just the image picker controller. I think I'm using the SwiftUI X, the kind of the library for SwiftUI, just to make things a little bit easier. But yeah, hopefully you guys were able to learn a few things from today's video. If you guys have any questions or thoughts about any of the content, make sure to leave a question down below. If you guys have any ideas for what you want to see in the next video, make sure to let me know as well. That's going to be it for today's video. Hit the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next time, maybe sooner than, a couple of months in between videos. And that's it. Bye.